Aloha and welcome to another episode of After School All-Stars Hawaii Arts and Crafts Corner with me, Tosa Lobandan. Today we will be making a super fun project that I love to make with my kids, and it involves a few awesome products that I didn't know existed before I worked with students to create a charm, and or it could be earrings, it could be necklace, it could be a keychain holder, but we will be using the material Shrink-a-Dink to make awesome charms today. I'm actually going to be making a set of earrings with my favorite characters, but we will get into that as we start our video. First, we are going to go over all the materials that we need, and then we will start. All right, so the first thing that we have is our Shrink-a-Dink film. You can get this at Ben Franklin Crafts. This is where I found it. They have it in clear, which is the version that I bought. They also have it in matte, and they have it in white. It's your preference depending on what you want to create, but you will need one sheet of that. I'm going to have this already. You're also going to need a white piece of paper. I just use this to color in my image so I can kind of see where the stencil lines that we create with our Sharpies are. You're also going to need parchment paper, not wax paper, but parchment paper, and you can find this in the cooking or baking section of any of your local stores. You're also going to need a tin foil pan. You can use a cookie sheet, but it has to be metal. It cannot be glass or plastic. You're also going to need an oven or a small toaster oven, and the temperature will be set to 350. The time of cook will be 2 to 3 minutes, just depending on the size of your image and the way that you want it to be shaped. But we will get to that in a little bit. Right now, if you do have an opportunity, please go speak with your parents. You will need to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. You're also going to need a pair of scissors. Please be careful. You're going to need needle nose pliers. I use this to manipulate the wire that will be going into our charm base to hold right there. You are also going to need a hole puncher. You're going to punch out a hole for the plastic so that the charm can go inside. You're also going to need 24 gauge silver beading wire. It also comes in gold or copper, but I like silver, so I picked that. You're also going to need some duct tape to hold your Shrink-a-Dink on to the image that you will be tracing it onto. And I have some Sharpies. I just picked random colors, but for my image, these are the colors that I'm going to be using. So I have a pink, a salmon, and a yellow. Please make sure that your lids are secure. You don't want your Sharpies to dry out. And then I also have a light gray Sharpie that I use for tracing, a dark gray Sharpie, and these two are thin, which is very important because you want your lines to be thin at first, and then a thick black Sharpie to finish up all of my drawing. And the last item, because I'm going to be making earrings today, are the hook earring bases, and this one is in gold. I couldn't find it in silver, but that's okay because it's going to go in your ears. So I do have 2 of those ready. So you can go ahead and pause here and get all your materials, and I will see you back in 1 minute. Alright, so welcome back. The first thing that we are going to do is we are going to set our station ready so that we can start drawing. That is the first important step. So I'm going to move some of my items out the way. Again, please be careful. I'm going to take my pan, all of these items, just move them to the side. You don't need them right now. What you are going to need is a piece of paper, your Shrink-a-Dink, put this, pack it away, some scissors, and your tape. We are going to get our Shrink-a-Dink image ready for what we're actually going to draw on it. So what I'm going to do, Tokidoki is my favorite character of all time, or anime series, and I am doing the Hello Kitty diamond Tokidoki image. I'm going to make 2 for earrings. So I've already kind of figured out the size that I want my image. I cropped all of the background out, so it was just the image that I'm looking at, and that is what I'm going to use to size my Shrink-a-Dink. I do need to make 2 pieces, so I need to be mindful that they both need to be the same size. And I also need to make space for when I have to draw on a circle. That's where we will be punching our hole. We need to always remember to leave extra space. And I have a perfect example of this. This is another image that I drew. This is another favorite Tokidoki of mine. But I did create a small little tab on the outside. And this is where I am punching the hole. So I kind of lined it out. This one has not gone through the oven yet. So just to kind of give you a relative idea of how large you'd want your item, I made this charm this size. And so in comparison, it shrinks about 1/3 or 2/3 down to what it was. So if you want your item to be larger, you need to make it bigger. So just keep that in mind. Yeah. So again, make sure that you have your little loop, your hole on the or extra space for your hole on the top, and just be mindful of the shrinking size. It does shrink down. I can't wait to make this one. Quartz is her name. She's a unicorn, just like me. So, all right, I'm gonna take my image again. Sorry, and I'm going to make it tap it. I'm going to just kind of hold my Shrink-a-Dink over, and I'm going to kind of just, actually, you know what? I'm just gonna do half of the sheet because I would rather have more and be able to cut it than less and have to redo it. So I'm going to measure again, and I want this to be just big enough that it fits on my screen of my phone, since that's what I'm using to draw my image. If you have your own original drawings, like, man, I encourage you so much to just be artistic and show the world like what you can do. I prefer to sketch my images onto my Shrink-a-Dink, but that's just me. So I'm going to actually prep this. I'm going to take my Shrink-a-Dink. Oh, see, it's just a little bit too big. You want to make sure it fits within the parameters of your phone screen. Again, I'm gonna cut it. I'm going to place it directly onto my phone. I'm going to take my tape. I'm gonna take 2 pieces, and I'm gonna tape one on the top of the Shrink-a-Dink and one on the bottom. Now this is just going to ensure that my Shrink-a-Dink stays in place while I'm drawing on it. And then another important setting for me on my iPhone is I lock my screen portrait orientation, just so my phone is not going everywhere as I'm drawing. I also have my second piece right here, but I am gonna lay it off to the side. And this is how it's going to, you can't really see, but I taped on the top and I taped on the bottom. Oh, and my image is covered in Shrink-a-Dink. So I'm going to prep this, and then we will show you a shot of the top and we will get started. I will be right back. All right, so welcome back. I've kind of set up my studio so that my light is on. And as you can see, again, I have the tape on the top and the bottom of my image, and it's just kind of pressed firmly against the screen. I am, again, just gonna show you the 2 images that I had created earlier. So I have my quartz, and like I said, I have that extra little loop on the top, and it is going to shrink down to this size. So just keep that in mind. I've already attached my metal piece, but those are the sizes that you want to be mindful of. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna take my light gray Sharpie, and it is a lot lighter than it looks, and I am just going to outline my image. Doesn't take a lot, and I just want to trace every line, whatever colors I decide to go in with. The gray is light enough that it will go underneath the color, or just completely erase, which we also like. And again, just make sure that you're going slow. It's not a race. You just want to make sure that you're outlining every part of your image. I also like to think of when I'm lining it, I like to line it in the middle of the actual line, just so that when I go over it with a thick marker, it's straight, and at the same time also it's thick enough. So I'm going to just draw this. And even these things over here, you see how the yellow is like separate? Like I'm going to color that part in. So I want to make sure that I line that part because it's a very distinct feature. And to again make sure that you are that your piece of Shrink-a-Dink is basically touching the screen, like it's got enough tension and slack that it will not pop up or be too large when you do it. I've found also that if it doesn't touch exactly on the screen, it can look a little off when you're drawing. That last part, those last little eyes, those white parts on the eye. And then because I want it on top, I'm going to, like when it hangs, I'm going to draw my circle right here. So that's where I'm going to pop, use the hole puncher to pop it off. So now that I'm done with my image or drawing my image, I'm gonna peel off the Shrink-a-Dink onto my paper, and that is the very first step. Next, what I'm going to do is I am going to start with my coloring. So I know that first and foremost, my eyes are gonna be black. And again, make sure that you're making that little eye mark. It's like where the light catches her eyes because she's Hello Kitty. And then same thing with the nose. I know that I'm not really doing anything to that except for making it yellow. So I'm gonna color my eyes in. And I am going to then start on my coloring process. So how I'm going to do this is going to be an ombre effect down. So I am going to just kind of start with the coloring process in here. And I'm going to just go in this first box right here. Another thing I noticed with this color, or with this paper actually, is that the first time you run your marker on it, it doesn't always collect color. You can see there's like a whole bunch of color collecting right here, but it's not collecting on the top. So I think one of the best things is to just kind of make sure you're moving your pen around fast enough. But then also at the same time too, like just be mindful of the way that you are drawing your coloring. Because this is a clear piece, you want to make sure that it's dark enough so that when it does go into the oven, that it doesn't like look light or almost invisible, because that can happen. So I'm going to also color. I'll just refer back to my image. So I know that on this image the blue is up here, but I'm over there, but I'm gonna do pink because again mine is going to be pink. I'm gonna go in with my salmon color. This is kind of where I'm gonna start this ombre effect. And I'm just gonna kind of like tap on places where I want my color to kind of mix. And it's gonna end up looking a little pink and a little orange. I'm also gonna do the same thing over here. And I'm just doing very small taps. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. There's no such a thing. And this is your artwork, so you can make it however you want. There is yellow on this side, on the inside, and blue on the outside. So I'm going to actually just take my Sharpie, and my gray Sharpie, and I'm going to just, again, draw a very like light line down the side. Okay, all right, I'm gonna move this out of the way, and I'm gonna take my pink again, and I'm going to start my ombre again up here. And I'm going to go about halfway, and then I'm gonna do yellow, And then I'm gonna ombre the peach on top of the yellow, because the last thing that I want is for my yellow marker to collect peach instead of the other way around, because the peach marker or the salmon color marker will hide the yellow a little bit better. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. Bring it up to the gray line, because again, we don't want our yellow to collect other colors. We want it to stay yellow. Bringing those dots down progressively will allow it to shade, especially when it shrinks, because you're not gonna see the little dots. You're just gonna see like the transition between the two. And one of the also tips about this is you want to try to make the dots close together, but you still want like the color underneath to show, because that's how you'll do the transition best. And I'm pretty satisfied. Just really small dots, like really super small, just barely touching the page. I think another fun thing that you can do, Father's Day is coming up, so you could totally do like a best dad in the world, or like I love you dad, or even just like a big heart, or if you know they are maybe a construction worker, you could do like a cute crane or something like that, like a nice keychain, just so something that they can have to remember you by, and you know, gifts when they're at work. All right, and then I'm also going to do her nose yellow, because Hello Kitty's nose is yellow. Oh, see, that's what happens. You want to make sure you don't get that black in there. And then I'm also gonna make her bow yellow, just because in the picture the bow is pink, but I want it to stand out across from the pink. So I'm going to make her bow yellow. I'm also going to go back in with my pink and just kind of like dot this area up, because I really don't like the transition, just because, again, like I said, when I first colored it, the paper it gives the Sharpie a hard time almost. I want to make sure that the color is like super vibrant, especially because this like hue of pink, this magenta, is really pretty. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start going over all of the lines with the thin black Sharpie. So I'm gonna start with the little details that I want to make sure I'm satisfied with first. So like my bow. If you do make a mistake, you can take hand sanitizer, or if you have like rubbing alcohol for injuries, with your parents' permission, you can put it on a little Q-tip and then just wipe away the mess. Then I'm going to start lining all the different accesses of the diamond. And this is the part I like the most, because it really cleans up the lines and the mistakes that you've made. If you overline something, or if you did not line it the right way, this is a perfect opportunity for you to kind of just fix it. And this is, again, just the first initial coat of black that I'm going over with. I will go over one more time with a thicker marker in certain areas that I want to be emphasized. I am going to do equal sides on both, just so that I am allowing enough time for the Sharpie to dry. And then I'm going to go down the middle. Ooh, this is nervous. You want to make sure everything is so nice, and it's so hard sometimes. Okay, I'm gonna go across the top. Actually, I'm gonna turn my paper a little bit And this is also like another benefit to taping it down, because that way you know that your image is not gonna like move around if it touches your hand, which is like one of my pet peeves, especially if I'm trying to like get things done within a certain amount of time. Like if it touches my hand and it gets stuck and I like mess up, then I feel like completely like the world is over. And if you do have any gaps, like I noticed I just kind of gapped right here, you can just go back in with your color Sharpie. And then I'm going to twist it a little more this way. And 3, and I'm basically done. I mean, I'm just gonna again go over it with the black Sharpie, and then I'm gonna repeat this same process, and when I come back we will have 2 Hello Kitty charms that will be ready to be put in the oven. So go ahead and do yours. Make sure that you are adding a lot of color, and then I will come back for the next step. I will see you guys in a few minutes. All right guys, so now that I have created my 2 images, we are going to prep them for the oven. So I'm going to remove the tape from the top and bottom of each plastic, and again, as you can see, I drew a small little circle right here, and this is just kind of like an approximate area of where I'm going to punch my hole. I did want to make sure that my images were centered before I punched my hole, because the way that I want them to hang, I want to make sure that they're hanging straight. So that is something to keep in mind as well. And again, please remember to always draw that circle on before you cut out your images. So I put all my tape together. The next thing that I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to lay my image with the point down, and then I'm going to kind of just reevaluate where I want my point. So my image is going to have the point facing me, and then yeah, that's pretty good about right there. Yep, that's where I want my hole to be punched. And then same thing for this one. I'm gonna take it. Yep, that looks good to me. All right, so I'm going to take my scissors, and I am going to cut a buffer around this image. And the reason why you want to kind of do that is, for instance, when you look at this charm, it has a horn, and then like any pointy areas, with this over here, as you can see, the paper did rip when I was cutting it, but it did still harden together, but there is a little small piece, so that could be a point of weakness you want to be careful of. So I'm going to make sure that when I'm cutting, I'm leaving enough space, how like you see on this one, so that the plastic can still harden and it won't be vulnerable. It'll be less vulnerable in that area. So I'm gonna start off at the bottom, since that is a angle, and I'm going to kind of just buffer around all the edges where I, again, want there to be thickness. And I'm just gonna kind of follow around the shape, leaving like a 2 centimeter gap. And then this is the important part. So now that I've gotten up to the top, I've gotten around the spot, I'm going to just go around it and back down, following the shape of my image. So I left a piece of plastic around the buffer, and it is attached right here, but it's clear, so you're not really gonna see it when you're using it as your jewelry. If you do really feel like you just don't want that plastic there, try to put the hole closer to your actual image. That way there isn't such a big gap. And then also too, you want to make sure that you round the edges just so that they don't harden pokey. Then I'm going to take my hole puncher and I'm going to line it up inside, and then I'm just going to pop my hole. You want to make sure that you are popping your hole close enough or not too close to the edge. That one was a little bit close, but that's okay. And again, I'm gonna clean up all my rubbish. I really enjoy putting all of my rubbish in one spot so that cleanup is a lot less. I'm gonna do the same thing to the second image. Just gonna come around and cut around all of the edges, leaving that 2 to 3 centimeters approximately. Oh, the shadow that this creates is so pretty. Okay, and then I'm going to do my last, again, my hole punch. I'm gonna try to make sure I go a little bit closer to the inside this time. And it will get stuck initially when you punch it through the hole puncher, because the piece inside there is getting stuck on the plastic. So this is the final piece. You see the hole is punched right there. I've got both of my holes punched and my plastic cut off. Now, what we are going to do, put all of my rubbish together, and we are going to prep the pan for our items. So how this is going to work is I'm going to take my pan, I'm going to take everything out of my pan except for the tin and the parchment paper. So the parchment paper, I did double layer. So it's 2 layers folded in half. So I'm going to, actually I'm gonna go this way, sorry. I'm going to put the bigger piece, bigger square area on the bottom. I'm going to take my 2 images. I'm going to lay them out, spaced out really far from each other. And then this top piece is going to go over. And then you can see that the images, the pieces are still in there. And we are going to go pop them in our oven. Again, please make sure your oven was set to 350 to your pre-warm up, and that you spoke with your parents. And then we are going to pop this in and we will be right back. All right, so my oven is heated to 350 degrees. I have a timer for 2 minutes and 30 seconds set. I'm going to put my images into the oven very carefully, watching my fingers, and I am going to close this door. All right, welcome back. So I took out my pan with my oven mitt. Please make sure you're being careful, and I let it sit just to cool. So now we are going to unveil our images. Ooh, look what we got. All right, so first was my quartz unicorn that I made. She turned out beautifully. And now we have our 2 final products of our Hello Kitty keychain or earring charms. Awesome, they turned out so good. Okay, all right, so we are going to move our pan out of the way now that it is nice and cool. And we are going to get started on our charms. So I'm going to take my silver beading wire, 24 gauge, and I'm going to take out maybe about 6 inches. Probably not going to use all of it, but I don't want to waste too much of it. So I want to make sure that we use just what we need. And then I'm also going to actually cut this in half, because this is 6 inches for 2. The best part about this wire is you can cut it. It is very malleable, but please be careful because you can also still have sharp edges on the end. So what we are going to do, we are going to take the wire, we are going to put it through the middle, and we are going to take our needle nose pliers, and we are going to take the image, we're going to hold the metal together, and we're going to twist. Going to move it up just a little bit, and twist and twist and twist till we have our desired shape. Actually, I think I'm going to twist one more time just so that I know my metal on here is where I want it to be. And that is how you should have your initial first twist, like that. Then we are going to take one of our earring backings, our prongs, and we are going to put it through. I'm actually only going to put it on one. Actually, no, I'm gonna put it on both. That just makes more sense. And then I'm going to bend it down around the prong. And then I'm going to do the exact same process. I'm going to hold my metal in place, and I'm going to, again, please watch out your fingers, and around. Okay. Then I'm going to go in with my scissors, and I am going to very carefully cut off the metal that I don't want, and then I'm gonna take my pliers and I'm going to make that metal flush with the rest of the metal that is on there. And that is my first earring. I'm gonna move these little metal chunks out of the way. I'm going to put them with the rest of my rubbish. Again, make sure you're cleaning your area as you go. That makes for faster cleanup. And I'm going to do the same thing, but I think this time I'm going to just do a little bit on the bottom. That way I don't have such a thick wire. I'm gonna hold it in place, and I wanna make sure that this one is staying center. So I'm going to twist, twist, twist it, holding it as much as I can. Twist it 1, 2 more times. All right, and then I'm going to take my other earring backing, and I am going to place it the same method that I did for the first one. I'm going to take it and I'm just going to twist the metal around itself. Take my pliers and just push it flush with the rest of the metal so it doesn't poke me or whoever I make these items for. All right, that is it. Oh, you know what, let me just, there you go. All right, perfect. 2 earrings done. All right, guys, so I have my earrings. They're done and I'm wearing them. I also have my scrunchie that we made on Tuesday together. This is awesome. I've got my hair accessories and I've got my earrings. We are ready to go. I hope that you had an amazing time this week making these activities with me, and that you are staying safe. Please don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe on our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok pages at All Stars Hawaii. Until next time, guys, have a great day. Aloha.